Good morning. What a great day we have before us. The Lord is good. His mercies are new every day. And we can be assured that His word is going to have something powerful for us today as we go through it. We're going to be in Mark chapter 9. And as we've been going through Mark chapter 9, we know that Jesus has been on top of the Mount of Transfiguration, or that's what we call the event. And as he's on top of this mountain with Peter, James, and John, he's transfigured, which means he's glorified. They get to see him in his glorified state alongside with Elijah and Moses. And as Peter would say, "Hey, listen, this is great for us. Let's make a tabernacle, a place for you and Moses and Elijah to stay." Immediately, those two are gone, and Jesus is the only one left. And a voice booms from heaven, says, "This is my son." Um, and hear him. And just a reminder to those guys that this is the voice in which I am going to be speaking from this point on forward, is through the person of Jesus Christ. And so then we get here, and it says, verse 9, it says, "Now as they came down from the mountain, he commanded them that they should tell no one the things which they had seen till the Son of Man had risen from the dead. So they kept his word to themselves, questioning what the rising from the dead meant." And you can see that there's a couple things here. The first one is they come down from the mountain. Jesus is like, "Listen, don't tell anybody what you saw." A part of it is because Jesus has yet to be glorified. His ministry on earth has yet to be fulfilled. There was no need to kind of speed things up until the work had been completed that was before him. The other thing, though, is he also would tell them that there would be this rising from the dead, that the Son of Man would rise from the dead. And this would have been a point of great kind of controversy in those days and ages, because you'd have the Pharisees who believed in supernatural things, and then you'd have the Sadducees. We always kind of use the joke that how you know the difference between a Pharisee and a Sadducee is the Pharisees believe in the resurrection, and it's the Sadducees don't believe in the resurrection, and they're sad, you see. Kind of a goofy thing, but it allows us to kind of remember how they see the world. And so there would have been a lot of conjecture, a lot of back and forth, and whether or not the resurrection really existed. And then for them to hear that the Son of Man is going to be raised from the dead, this wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, because their expectation is Jesus is coming to set up the kingdom. But God allowed them to have this incredible experience there on the mountain for a purpose and for a reason, and it was necessary for getting the gospel out there. But I want to focus on the first few words of verse 9. It says, "And now as they came down from the mountain," right? As they came down from the mountain. Guys, in life, we get to have all kinds of spiritual mountaintop sort of things, right? Where we experience the Lord in a very vivid and real and powerful way. Perhaps this is like the women's conference. It's going to be coming up in April, or maybe it's a Sunday, a very special Sunday. You can look back and just remember that was one of those moments that the Lord had just stopped me dead in my tracks, and I heard him so clearly through the word, or just maybe a time of praise and worship, or a time of being filled with the Spirit, or opportunity to share your faith, or a mission trip. And you can kind of go down the list of all these sorts of things, of these mountaintop experiences. And as much as I would love to say that they were able to tabernacle on top of that mountain, they weren't. As soon as they wanted to kind of stay up there longer, the experience was done. And this is the reality of life. And I am so thankful that God gives us mountaintop experiences. Why? Well, because this would be so valuable for these guys for the rest of their life. Now, it wouldn't have been, as emotional the rest of their life. It wouldn't have been as supernatural, perhaps, for the rest of their life. We know there would be a lot of supernatural things that would happen. But God will give us mountaintop experiences so that we might be able to have that experience in the deepest part of the valleys, in the hardest parts of the struggles. For these men, Peter, James, and John, we know that James would ultimately be the first of the disciples killed. And he would need to hold on to these mountaintop experiences, knowing that his faith in Jesus Christ would ultimately lead to eternal redemption. And he got to see the glorified Christ, and that soon, as a moment as that sword would hit his neck, his eyes would open up in heaven with the glorified Lord. right? So that these things are so critical, but they're not our life. Our life is lived in the day to day. It's lived in the valleys. It's lived in the rolling hills. It's lived with all the other stresses of this world. And we get to hold on to the fact that God was faithful, showed us some powerful truths, perhaps on a mountain. And those are the things that give us those hopes for eternity. The promises that God is real and God is moving and working, personal, speaking even into our own lives. And so I'm telling you, right, as you come down from the mountain, whether that's at a conference or perhaps just a time in the Word, right? Allow that experience to be something that is used as you need it throughout the harder seasons of life, because there's going to be far more hard, long roads than there are going to be mountaintop experiences. I remember the time when we climbed up Pikes Peak and we get to the top and it's just glorious. The fact that we had completed this amazing hike, I can still remember the views, I can remember the feeling in my body, all those sorts of things by that great accomplishment, and it makes me long to do it again. But it also, it gave me a wonderful experience, even more so it is with the Lord. I love you guys. Allow those mountaintop sort of things to come back and maybe refresh and encourage your soul today, reminding you of all the mighty things that God has done in your life, and so that you might be able to continue to stay steadfast and faithful through these normal